As we've moved on to start the back stretch of the regular season here in A Squared, we've had a lot of questions answered to start the year. But as we move further and further on, we'll find out what drivers will qualify for the A Squared playoffs in about 9 weeks' time. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Young. Thank you for joining us here tonight on ABN Studios for the Chicago 240, presented by 7 Bar Barbecue here at Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. So anyway, as we get ready here to move on, we'll take a look at how qualifying is going at the moment. Drivers putting down times, and one driver, this man, once I get my cameras going here, has set the second fastest time on the board just as we came to live onto air, as he has gone the fastest. Zach Milt, second fastest, I should say, right at the moment, with his team boss, Brandon Featherplace, going the fastest right now. Top 5 are Featherplace, Millett, Michelle, Adams, and Ethan Wood at the moment. But a few other drivers are making runs for glory, including Blake Galloway, as he's about to finish up his second lap. Alfred George just finished his first lap. We also have Ross Baxter and Alfred George as well, about to finish their first lap and start their first lap, respectively, for both of them. So Galloway, as he comes across the corner here, we're actually going to ride on board here with Ross Baxter, as we're going to watch him go around the car here and go around the track. We're going to go inside the cockpit of Ross Baxter, as he is going to give us a good indicator of what you got to do around Chicagoland here to be fast. So we'll check his speedometer, check his schematics here, I should say. You see him lifting off just a little bit, try to get the corner. Second lap is going to be the money lap here, so he's going to gear it up for the second run here. Cuts down the trial first lap in the books. Ross Baxter only going to be good enough for 27th. He's going to have to really hustle it on this second run if he wants to try to best the time set by Brandon Featherplace, which is a 30.27. Almost hits the wall and does actually hit the wall. That is more than likely going to be an invalidation. We'll still ride it out through the end here. As you can see, it is a bit of a multi-groove track, so drivers will be inclined to try to run high or low to try to get their best runs here tonight. As he cuts the dog leg right now and comes across the start-finish line, Ross Baxter's second time will not count due to the invalidation, so he will stay P27. Looking out throughout the rest of the field here, everyone has pretty much put down a time. So we are pretty much done with qualifying for the most part here. Zach Millett is just doing a few extra warm-up laps here, as he is sometimes on again, off again these weeks due to personal things. So using that indication, he uses extra time to get gripped up with the track. I think he's a driver that we are kind of shocked yet he has yet to find a victory yet in that number 31. So we'll see how it all plays according to this. We also, again, like to take this opportunity again. Thank you for Jay, Just the Top for sponsoring these qualifying sessions here for A Squared week in and week out. They were the sponsor gloriously last season, and they are again back on board this season. And it's glad to have them on board. Just checking the audios real fast, make sure everything is good. 2 minutes to go here. Obviously, session flag is red, but we can actually make it green like that. So now it is green. So qualifying has been green for most of the night here. Other than that, really, it's just a bit of the calm before the storm here, as they have a minute and some change here to set times and put down laps. So I'm just going through some last-minute adjustments on my end, too, to make sure everything is good. So, yep, at the moment, we have 33 cars participating in tonight's race. Obviously, Mellencamp will be one of the two. That is obviously the on-duty race control, and myself accidentally joined in this race. So if you see the car 998, that is not anyone of note. That is just me being a bit of a dummy before coming into tonight's session. So 33 cars here racing tonight for glory in the try to find the checkered flag at the end of tonight's festivities. Minute to go in qualifying. Again, right now Zach Millett just taking this time to practice, running some extra laps here, get in tune with the track. As pit road can also be a bit tricky on these 1.5-mile ovals, so it's always a good opportunity and a good chance to use this as good practice to get gripped up, get geared up, and try to use this along with a warm-up to make sure you can exit and enter pit road safely without spinning it out or end up making a boo-boo and get a speeding penalty, which can easily take you out of contention for the race. So it looks like Millet now will officially come on in here, and he will peel off quite nicely in his Team Conti Sim Performance machine. Gracious enough to drive on board with him throughout the whole year. And as he comes on in, we will get this show on the road. To go to warm-up, I should say. We're not ready to go to the race just yet. We got 5-minute warm-up. So as qualifying officially concludes, top 5 will be these names as followed. Feather Place, Millet, Michelle, Adams, Wood. They'll be the 5 fastest and be the top 5 heading on to the main race. As we get ready here to go again, drivers will get 5 minutes to have some warm-up. Cars will use opportunities. Some will use this as last-minute practice to get used to the car and the track. I see Harris and Markowski being the first ones out of pit lane. Other drivers will use this as an opportunity to use it as pit road entry and exit practice. Make sure they know where their box is, as your box changes from week into week out. And we've seen it a couple times this season where cars have had poor qualifyings, have been further back, and do not 100% know where their box is. It will sometimes catch them off guard, so they can use that as a practice time. And other drivers will use this as an opportunity to use the bathroom, get a drink, make sure they're all comfortable in their sim rigs before they head out onto the track. At the moment, pretty much everyone is taking advantage of this opportunity to run some times here. A few notable names not coming out: Cody Pennell, Eli Sasick, Josh Battles, and Mike LaJoy, to name a few. But everyone else electing to take this opportunity to practice and get this last-minute run going here to get comfortable. Actually, right on board here with Dale Markowski, one of the top drivers for Black Acid Racing, as he sits behind Marshall Harris. And this is where we'll see cars cutting dog legs, trying to make moves. As the next-gen car is great at these 1.5-mile tracks, which should be in for a good show here, as it should play out quite nice. You see Feather Place hit the wall a little bit up the road, and now Dale Markowski will also hit the wall here. So as Markowski will come on in, trying to lock it up. He'll get it woed down, but will hot spot the tires just a little bit. But luckily, tires burned in practice and qualifying will not affect the race totals. So you can burn as much as you want until the main race starts, and then they'll be set required. And speaking of that, we will go over the race day info now. We have 150 laps awaiting these drivers here at Chicagoland. 2 stages at 25 and 75. They'll have 6 sets of tires and 50% fuel capacities, with no fast repairs available. So similar to all the other races this season, if a car ends up getting too much damage, they will not be able to continue. Lastly, 3 green-white checkered attempts if these drivers so need them, and they will use that opportunity. So that awaits these drivers. You see right now a big conga line of cars here, including Matt Fordon, Kevin Feemster, Ross Baxter, and that 17, I believe that's 37 of Chris Fleming, just up the road there, as they're all in this little pack here. Yep, it's actually 38 of Chris Fleming, but still Chris Fleming nonetheless. Speaking of as well, just taking a quick look to make sure there is no special themes here. You can see this is why pit road entry is important, as you see right there. Seth Wanzing woes it down a little bit too much and ends up kicking it out a little bit in his Stars and Stripes Hendrick Chevrolet there. Got to be careful not to make too many of those mistakes during the race, or you could end up taking yourself out of contention. And just to confirm, there is no special theme tonight. So Chicagoland is just drivers can run whatever they so choose. Obviously, it's not a requirement to run a special scheme, but some drivers like to embrace themery in their cars as the calendar plays on. Zach Millet right now, top of the board here. He set the fastest lap in the warm-up, as he will also come down pit lane. So we're finding a lot of drivers attempting pit lane practice here. You see a little bit of some of the grass mode there. So some car got a little bit loose and ended up shaking out. There's Kevin Feemster as he leaves pit lane. Let's see if we can find someone that's currently on a run here. There's Daniel Michelle. Was close to a podium last week, but ended up getting in a bad spot and ends up finishing outside the top 10 along with Seth Wanzing as they came to blows. Hopefully everything got smoothed over with the week off, and we can see some good, clean racing. Obviously, it wasn't more of just a racing incident as drivers were fighting hard at the line, but hopefully no love lost between the two of them, I should say, as he will also come down pit lane. Speaking of, let's take a look and find our last week's race winner. There he is right there. Edward Marshall played the strategy to perfection in Indianapolis and took home the race win in that Spicy Chickens machine. So he is locked into the playoffs as long as he meets the requirement of 80% races attended. And at the moment, that win is still in his back pocket. Speaking of that, while we got 27 seconds to go here, we'll take a quick look at the points as well, as we're just running all this information over. Steve Tucker currently leads the Rookie of the Year standings. Bowie Esports leads SRD in the Constructors. And lastly, drivers in the playoffs at the moment are Hagen, Featherplace, Marshall, Fleming, and Withers. Braille and a few others wins do not count because they have not hit the requirement startings. And lastly, last driver in at the moment is Joshua Battles, as he's on the cut line above 8 points over Ryan Pinnell. Session is officially concluded for warm-up as we get ready to move on to the main race, and we will see you on the other side. All right, as we get ready here, thank you for joining us again here. If you have just tuned in for the Chicago 240 presented by 7 Bar Barbecue at Chicagoland Speedway. 150 laps await these drivers around Chicagoland, which was a great track in its day. Still wish they kind of came back here, but the Chicago Street Course is also a pretty good track in its own rights. And while the cars get lined up, we will take a look at the starting grid and see where all these drivers will be firing off here in tonight's main race. So as we pull up the grid, Brandon Featherplace and Zach Millett will be in row number 1. Bowie Esport locks out the first row. We'll see if they can keep it there. Row number 2 will be Daniel Michelle and Jonathan Adams. Adams had a bad finish last week in Indianapolis with a late incident. Daniel Michelle obviously probably wouldn't want to talk about Indy as well. They're both looking to rebound. Row 3, Ethan Wood and Seth Wansing. Both, again, 2 drivers that are looking for some good rebounds here. Wood had a good race last week. I think outside the top 10. Wansing probably doesn't want to bring up next week. Week 4, Cody Pinnell and Bren Roberts. They'll make up row number 4. Roberts got a podium last week. Row number 5, Connor Morse and Mike LaJoy. Row number 6, Eli Sasek coming back in here to fill in the number 1 car for John Hagen. So he will be in John Hagen's ride here tonight, and Dale Markowski will be flanking him on the outside. Row 7, Matthew Kent and Edward Marshall. Last week's winner, Edward Marshall. Row number 8, Joshua Battles and Matt Fordon. Row number 9, Kevin Feemster and Marshall Harris. Row number 10, Joshua Gaiman and Althridge George. Row number 12, Chris Fleming and Nathan LaJoy. Row number 13, Brian Johnson and Tommy Withers. Row number 13, Blake Galloway and Brian Dixon. Row number 14, Ross Baxter and Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. Row number 15, Mark Dila and Colin McDonough. Row number 16, Gavin No Donuts Hutspiff and Patrick Oberstadt. Row number 17, Elliot Longenecker, and ignore that one because that is how the grid will end. And then we got Ryan Pinnell and Melanaki. Pinnell is in the race. Melanaki is not. So we'll have 34 cars. Longenecker and Pinnell will pretty much be the last row on the grid. So as we get ready here, drivers coming around the corner here. As we cut to, there is Elliot Longenecker. We'll cut back up to the lead car here in Featherplace. Looks like we will not get the late lap here. We are going green here as they come off of 4 here. Obviously, we have 150 laps. Stages end on 25 and 75. We'll see how the short run plays out. Control will be on green, then every leader afterwards, but enough talking. Let's get it going. Green flag is out for the ARCS Chicago 240. As lap number 1 has officially been completed, it will be similar to what we saw our pole sitter do. Brandon Featherplace will lead the lap with Millett in second. Meanwhile, Wansing and Adams will be a big fight for third as Wansing will get a good drive off there, and I think he will clear Adams. So Wansing can be one of the bigger movers on the opening lap, up 3 spots from where he qualified. Only other big movers throughout the field include Brian Dixon and Tommy Withers, both up 3 and 4 spots respectively. So they have both moved up quite aggressively here early on. But you gotta make sure to save your tires and make sure you protect your stuff because you don't want to be in a spot late on where you burn your tires out. Especially maybe not in stage 1, as tire wear is important, but not overly important. But stage 2 and stage 3, in the final stage, that's where tire wear will really come into play. As we see a battle for second between Millett and Wansing. Should be worth noting, Daniel Michelle right there. You see him in the far shot battling Adams. Look at that right there. A little boxy between Wanzing and Millet. Wanzing will pop up the second. Millet will go down the third. But to go back to my point, you see the two cars taking up the rear shot there, Daniel Michelle and Cody Pennell. Well, Daniel Michelle set the fastest Sector 1, but Cody Pennell beat it, and he has gone the fastest as number 28 machine there as he is up to 6th. As he set the fastest time in tonight's session so far with a 30.34. Sadly, unlike in real life though, no bonus points for setting the fast lap, unlike in real life the Cup Series. Speaking of Michelle, already trying a different line there, and he will clip the wall just a tiny bit. That will leave him vulnerable here for a pass from Cody Pennell as we'll actually ride on board. Well, actually, I was going to say we'll ride on board, but we're going to have to hold that thought. Wanzing showing he's got a rocket under that machine right now. Clip steer it a little bit, though. That could hurt his exit speed. And they'll still be side by side. Millet going to go high side here, so Wanzing using those bald eagles on the front to try to propel that car forward. But got a little bit loose there on the apron, and that's going to leave him vulnerable here for a pass for second, which will be completed. So Wanzing now down the third and is going to have to try to make the bleeding stop here. You can go from a hero to a 0 if you're not careful, and you can see the effects that is played right now. As he will just can't get the bleeding to stop here, and he will fall down to 4th, but luckily will jump right in front of Michelle here as they will hold on to the top 4 positions. Still keep an eye on this battle up front. As you see right now, a little bit further back, Cody Pennell and Daniel Michelle. There is a little bit of some action outside the top 10. But we want to let this battle settle up here first before we kind of cut back there. Meanwhile, Wanzing trying to get back on the inside of Adams. So it's 2 by 2 on our screen here. See if that's not going to be a helpful angle. That's a little bit better. And also at the same point, looks like we have a battle for the lead. So battle for 1st, 3rd, and 5th all on your screens at the moment. Trying to fit it all in once here, trying to use the angles. Millet trying to take the lead away from Team Boss Featherplace. Featherplace will hang on, Adams will hang on, Michelle will all keep their spots. So outside line at the moment prevailing, but easier said than done as Adams way up the groove there, trying to find a third line here. As Millet will get clear, so put Millet up to the race lead. Featherplace will fall to 2nd. Whether that's by design or whether that is intentional, we'll have to see. Meanwhile, Adams and Wanzing side by side here for 3rd. You all see in the back there, Dale Markowski also moving his way up quite aggressively here, up 4 spots from where he qualified. As he's trying to crack the top 10 here, which is firmly in. Now trying to crack the top 5 in a couple spots here. Speaking of, there's Cody Pennell again with Daniel Michelle. But we're going to go, actually, I want to focus on Dale Markowski here. It's had a bit of a rough start to the season. It's been decently all right. I don't want to discredit him for what he's done. But he's definitely maybe not driven up to the standards I think he holds himself to. And right now having a good run here in this 33 car. He's definitely a strong driver. That's why Black Acid took him quite highly in the draft. And he definitely can show that out when need be. So as he gets a good run here on the 25 with Daniel Michelle, but just know where he can take it. Keep an eye on the gaps there. Brendan Roberts trying to make a move there on Daniel Michelle. Really just trying to cover a lot of things here. Every time we cut a little bit, want to go a little further back, move happens up front here. Roberts will not get the job done, so Michelle will hold on. He'll keep 6th spot, but he has also lost 3 spots currently at the moment. We'll take a look at the last driver in at stage points at the moment. That is currently going to be this man, Ethan Wood, currently sitting there in 10th, side by side with last week's winner, Edward Marshall. That is the battle for 10th, respectively. You can also see in the far shot, Connor Morse and Marshall Harris. They are fighting side by side as well. It looks like they may be joined by Eli Sasek in that number 1 machine. Sasek, a name that if you have not seen much before, you probably have seen him at least through a lot of ABN and Associated Series competitions. You can also hear his voice as well, as he has been a commentator for a couple different series as well under the ABN umbrella. So Sasek filling in for Hagen, as he is currently sitting in 13th, as he's lost a spot to Connor Morse. Actually, he's got around Marshall Harris, so let's give him a little more credit. So it looks like he hasn't lost one, he's actually gained one, but has lost net 2 in this situation. Meanwhile, as we watch this battle still play on, I'm keeping an eye on the gaps between Feather Place and Adams. Adams is getting a little bit close to Feather Place. I still don't want to cut away from this battle right now, as this is last stage point. And this is the only 2 cars in the top 10 of the side-by-side. Remember, stage ends on lap 25. To watch this battle, taking a look at the chat. And speaking of what I was kind of focusing on, you just saw, we're going to jump back up to that spot. Adams was able to get a good run there in that number 8 machine. He has gotten second position for the moment from Feather Place. He got clear, and he will now complete it. So, was wondering at least a little bit, maybe Feather Place was saving some tire here, possibly letting Millet go instead of battling, but looks like that may not be the case, as he is struggling a little bit with wear at the moment, as he's now fallen down to 3rd. Meanwhile, you can also see at the moment, Wanzing also beginning to struggle a little bit with tire wear, as he is side-by-side with Michelle, and Michelle will gain the spot. So put Michelle to 4th, Wanzing now down to 5th, as he's under pressure with Cody Pinnell and Bren Roberts. Well, we got this opportunity in the action, taking a look at the chat. Obviously, we see some rooting for Brian Johnson, some rooting for the 5 of Seth Wanzing. We even see John Hagen here chirping in the chat, hoping Eli Sassa can bring home a good finish for the number 1 and help SRD in the Constructors. Meanwhile, Wanzing continue to fall backwards. He's going to get passed by Cody Pinnell. Now Bren Roberts, former teammates. They'll be side-by-side here. As Roberts almost comes up the road here. It hits the 5, but luckily leaving it nice and spacey. And Seth Wanzing will hold on at least for now. But I think he's definitely one of those drivers that's hoping that stage break can come quickly and soon. But up front, you're not missing anything at the moment. Zach Millet there, you can see in the 31, is still leading this race. Took the lead over at lap 6 from Brandon Feather Place. Has led the next 11 laps here, but right now under pressure from Jonathan Adams. So we'll pull up the lap screen right there, 9 of 17. But Jonathan Adams, though, looking to maybe put his number 8 to the point, as they will be side-by-side heading off corner here. And this is usually a situation where you're going to see it clean. He's going to try to drift up a little bit. That car looks a tiny bit loose, though. And he will have to slot back into second here, and that will in turn put the pressure here on Adams here, as Feather Place is going to answer back here. So watch on board here with Zach Milne. He sees a great shot of this. Oh, Adams mows down that wall there. Hits it a ton, and that's going to cause Michelle to have to check up a little bit to avoid getting ran off the road there as the car ping-pongs. That's going to cause him to lose 4 spots. Michelle, the disadvantage of that, and Adams is also struggling as well. That hit may have knocked something loose, as you see him way on the low side here in that number 8. As he's let Michelle go. We're going to keep an eye on him just for a second here, just to see if he's going to come down here, if he can try to tough it out for another 6 laps. And he will continue on, but that is definitely hit the speed out of that 8, that hit. And that's why you got to be careful, as he's presumably going to fall outside the top 10 here. Back up towards the front, though, it is still the Bowie Esports Show 1-2, as they've regrasped their 1-2 spots. And it shows why they've been one of the stronger teams this season in the Constructors, as they have a good 1-2 punch for their troubles. The team consists of Baxter, Dixon, Feather Place, and Millet. As we've seen, Dixon has been a top 5 runner at Texas, a few other places, and Ross Baxter's been pretty strong as well. Meanwhile, though, Bren Roberts looking to crash the party here. By his own accord, not the best qualifier, so seeing him qualify so high is always a treat to see, and he is showing that off right now as he'll slot into second, smooth as you like, as he will clear Brandon Feather Place and will now to try to make a move for the race lead here. He'll have 4 laps to try to get something done. It's about timing your runs, getting good runs here as a ride on board here with Roberts, just basically pushing that Conti machine down the racing surface. He will go side by side here. That camera won't give us much to tell, but that one will, and he almost slides up into Millet there. So Millet is really holding that outside. He holds low, but when he needs to go high, he is no scrouge, as he will keep his foot planted. You can also see Feather Place Pinnell fighting for the last podium spot of stage 1. And you also got Wanzing Michelle. 6-car breakaway for the final 4 laps here of stage number 1. Robert's going to go low here again. We'll see if he can try to plant it low this time and get the run he needs. Yes, he's still side by side. Can't get the full run off. And look at that, though. 3 wide, a little bit further back. Michelle, Wanzing, Pinnell. It usually doesn't end without tears sometimes. But keeping it respectful, keeping it cordial. And Michelle will just drive it by the low side there. Meanwhile, Feather Place, Roberts. Oh, a little bit of contact. Roberts up the road, almost with Pinnell. That will be a caution for sure. Roberts back way through the stop sign here. Cross the start-finish line. See, he is parked stationary. Luckily, everyone will avoid him. Meanwhile, Brandon Featherplace will get through unscathed for the most part as he was heading quickly towards that inside wall of pit lane, but luckily will avoid it. So 2-car incident, as we'll see if we can find Brendan Roberts again here, as we do have a lot of cars. There he goes. He will get it fired back up. Stage number 1 will end here, so we'll take a quick look at the stage results, and then we'll take a look at what exactly happened there, as we did get a good look at it, but it's always good to recheck. So top 10 in stage number 1 will be Millet, Featherplace, Pinnell, Michelle, Wanzing, Markowski, Marshall, LaJoy, Connor Morse will get stage points. Eli Sasek will miss it out by 1, and Jonathan Adams will fall outside the top. Will be in 12. Meanwhile, before we see the replay, you see cars coming into pit lane. So as everyone pits here, we'll watch the race off pit lane, then we'll take a quick look at the incident. So as we will pull this up. So we're going to watch pit lane. We'll get to the nice pit lane camera here. Question is, who will win the race off pit lane here? Obviously, benefits of being the pole sitter is you get the first stall. And in turn, also a great view of your car. So as they come off here, all taking 4 tires, it will be Bowie Esports' Zach Millet winning it off. Cody Pinnell will be 3rd. Markowski will get 4th. Good virtual crew will get him a spot. Michelle 5th, Wanzing 6th, Eli Sasek 7th, Marshall 8th, Morris 9th, and Matthew Kent your top 10. As you can see, Jonathan Adams with heavy damage to fix, and he'll be on pit load for at least a little bit. So we'll take a look here at what exactly happened. So this is a 3-wide battle for the lead we're kind of watching. And we're going to play it out here. We're going to go with a nice eye in the sky camera because it never lies. And we'll play it out here at a 4th speed. So Robert's kind of on that middle high groove here, just trying to get a draft. I think it's just going to pile a bit too much. Actually, Millet's going to hit the wall. That's going to check up the 84 just a bit, get him speed wobbles. Hip checks the 34. As you see the 34 right now going off into the grass. We'll cut the Roberts, and you can see him cutting up through the road here. Barely gets avoided by Cody Pinnell, and that just caves in the front end. And that's going to be heavy damage for that not Coca-Cola, but it looks like the Coca-Cola bear on the front. It is technically. But the Sheets machine will have heavy damage. Luckily, though, will not get hit by anyone else as he cuts to the track here. We'll take a second look at, this time we'll focus on what exactly happened to Brenner, the 34 machine here. As we see him coming through the line here. Again, hit the little bit wall. It shoots the 34 low. Was wondering if he was going to save it or maybe hit the inside pit wall. But luckily, he gets it low down, keeps it straight, and ends up piling back onto the track, and actually will barely stay, actually will fall inside the top 10. Actually, I think he stayed in the top 10, so he'll get stage points too, so overall could have been a lot worse for Feather Place and could have had an early night ender. We'll take 2 more looks. As my replay can go back here. This time focus on Zach Millet, and we'll watch him again as you'll just see again. Actually, we'll actually do, instead of him, we'll actually look on Bren Roberts here. We're going to watch on board with him. Because I'm going to watch on his hood camera here, and we're just going to see what exactly happened. You can see, again, 31 hit the wall, and that just, maybe a bit of net code, maybe a bit of checkup. That's all it takes sometimes to upset these cars. And, again, this is the scariest situation you can be on the track, just stationary, watching a whole field pass you, and you're just hoping no one hits you. But we are going back live to green now, so we'll have to head back green here. As you'll see from the pit road camera, we are heading green. So pit stop threw us off a little bit, but we are good to go here as we start stage number 2. stage number 2 will be a bit of a reverse of stage number 1, with Millet leading the first lap, with Featherplace following home in second, reverse of the opening lap of this race. We know Seth Wanzen's got a great short-run car here, as we saw him move through the field and quite quickly. We'll see if he can capitalize on that here as well. Markowski as well, his virtual crew got him a net gain of spots. So we'll see if he can use this newfound track position and keep moving forward, as we saw him slowly carve up for the field throughout the first run. One of the biggest movers of the race here tonight, up 8 spots. He, along with Josh Gaiman, are the biggest movers right now at the moment, inside the top 20. Meanwhile, Michelle keeps trying to run that high wall there. It's risky because you flirt with danger if you hit it, but luckily, he'll keep it out of the fence. Let's see if we can get a good view here. We're going to cut on board here with Matthew Kentz in his Bucky's machine, as he's got a pretty good view of all the cars ahead of him right now, currently sitting in 9th position. We're going to pull up his driver data here. Let's just watch ahead here, as you see Michelle running that very high groove, Markowski running a similar kind of high groove, and then you got Marshall, Eli Sasek, Seth Wanzing running low, and our 2 race leaders running a middle to low line. So drivers using this track and all the lanes it provides to their advantage. You can see right there Pinnell on that middle groove, just trying to find a little extra speed to avoid arrow wash. Speaking of, and in turn Eli Sasek in that one, trying to cut the dog leg to get a little extra time. Another name to keep an eye on here, one of the other big movers, Josh Gaiman. Haven't said much about him right now at the moment. Was very quiet stage 1. He's not a driver that's quiet for long, as right now he is moving inside the top 10. Currently inside, got the last stage point of the stage, getting the stage where to end right now, as he is trying to get that 61 up and through the field quite quickly. Watch the battle here for all the spots here inside the top 10. We also got a battle here for second at the moment. Cody Pinnell going to get a high run here, so it's just choose your battles. Sometimes, again, I wish we had a co-commentator or someone else we could put a side stream on here, because at tracks like this, it can be very fighty throughout the field here as cars battle for position, as Michelle almost mowed that wall down. Got to be careful to keep the car in fenders intact, or else you could get heavy damage like Jonathan Adams, who is still struggling to reel in that car. As we'll cut to him in a second, as right now we have the battle for the lead. Pinnell trying to grip it and rip it, but he just can't get the run he needs. And now Featherplace kind of in the sucker hole here. He's going to lose a spot to Wanzing. Now be under pressure from Michelle. A little bit further back, Smeal Racing Design, number 1 of Eli Sasek and Josh Gaiman getting the move here. Gaiman up 11 spots. He is still moving quite quickly here, as he's trying to rip that high side for all it's worth. He seems to have the flexibility to keep moving his lanes. It's quite showing here, as he will get around the 1 of Eli Sasek. Meanwhile, battle for second. Seth Wanzing going to go low here. Michelle high side, Pinnell middle groove. Almost 3 wide. Pinnell will cut off Michelle. Wanzing will at least lead the position second, but look at Michelle right there pushing Cody Pinnell, keeping his dog in this race, as they'll be side by side again here, as Michelle's really liking that top groove. And the thing is, not many drivers are really being that flirtatious with that high groove. We've seen cars like Kent, Gaiman, Sasek, Dale Markowski run that high groove, but they are not as closely parked to the wall as Danny Michelle is. It's clearly working for him. It's a game of high risk, because if you stay up there a bit too wall, if a car comes up and checks you, there's nowhere to go. But at the same point, though, if you can pinch the throttle, you got no arrow wash, no major dirtiness, and you can really plant forward here. But luckily, he gets a little bit checked up there, and he won't be able to fully complete the pass of Cody Pinnell, but will still gain a net spot over Seth Wanzing. Meanwhile, Brandon Featherplace side-by-side with Seth Wanzing, speaking of Wanzing. And again, there's just tons of battles here. It's hard to cover everything, because every time we see something in the top 5, we got to cut further back to look a little bit through the core of the field. So it is really just a net race of just drivers really putting themselves at the edge and keeping it close. So it's a shame some of the people maybe further back here, like I see Blake Galway and Brian Dixon, teammates of Bowie, having a battle there for 17th. But when you got this 2x2x2x2, it can be very hard to really situate battles in a certain cover spots. Speaking of, Michelle will get clear Cody Pennell, and Seth Wanzing will clear Cody Pennell as well, so Pennell going to lose 2 spots. Meanwhile, Markowski and the big movers clung along with Josh Gaiman looking to crack this top 5 and that 33 Youngstown machine. Let's see if we can find another good seat here. We'll go back to Matthew Kent, as he really just has a good view of this battle of packs. He's kind of just stationary right now, sitting in 9th, now 10th. As when cars are going 2x2, he's usually just holding good here, as you can see that clean SRD Smeal Racing Designs machine ahead. Love that little orange tint on it and that little scratch marks on the back. But you can see right now, you can see Michelle high side. You can see Cody Pennell, Seth Wanzing middle to high as well. Looks like Pennell getting a good run. Then you got Feather Place under pressure here from Gaiman. And then you got Smeal Racing Designs, Eli Sassick, and Marshall also battling in turn for Fro. So we'll go back to wide action. And finding lines can be important, because if you find it and get the correct placement, it can give you a little extra run. But if a car cuts off your line, it can really hurt you out here, especially if it's 3, 4, 5 cars deep. And in turn, kind of like the crabs in a bucket, you kind of tear each other down, and there's no clean air. So that's why you see cars cutting high and low there. But Gaiman going to get a little loose trying to get to that low side here. That's going to put him under pressure here. So they're going to be 3 wide. Marshall going to try to be the advancer here. Eli Sass is going to get a little squirrely as well, trying to save it. Matthew Kent through the grass. And he will come back up the track here successfully. So similar to what we saw at Feather Place. Luckily, though, unlike what happened with Roberts, Eli Sass will not end up hitting the wall similar to he did. So Kent will lose a lot of spots here and will continue to fall outside the top 20. However, though, luckily, at least for both of them, no damage and no caution. Speaking of, we're actually watching right now the battle for the last stage point. As you see a big move there, Themester and Morse, but we're looking at Gaiman, who just took a big old hack down the tri-oval. And he will get the spot 7th, put him up to 7th. Edward Marshall now down 8th. We're going to cut up the 2nd position here. I thought I saw Wanzing and Michelle side by side. At the moment, though, Michelle kind of behind that. You can see Wanzing now trying to take a similar line. We see the Michelle. No one, though, has been able to touch our race leader in Zach Millett, as he has still been leading this way, has led every lap of stage number 2 here, as the stage is going to be about half over, and give or take about another 5-7 laps. Remember, the stage does end on lap 75. And in turn, without the caution laps and any caution laps so far on the stage, it makes maybe hitting that magical number of fuel kind of hard. So we may see green flag pit stops in this stage. The question is when, if at all, will one of these drivers blink? Speaking of, right now watching the battle for 9th, 10th, and 11th respectively. Right now it is Edward Marshall and Kevin Feemster side by side. Marshall going to clear up right in front of Feemster. That's usually not a pretty sight when you do that. Sometimes the driver will cut you slack, other times you'll end up in the fence. Luckily, Feemster will show a bit of restraint. As you see the battle now for 9th and 10th respectively, with Brian Dixon looking to try to crash this party. Back up, position upwards, we side by side, Seth Wanzing with Cody Pennell. As top 2 begin to pull away a little bit here, as we'll actually cut on board here with Seth Wanzing as he gets, not chop blocked, but slide jobbed right there by the 28. Oh, a little bit of door tap in there a little bit as well. Let's see who can get the better drive off here at the moment. It looks like it's going to be Pennell, but Wanzing is there. Corner back straight usually favors car on the high side, and that is showing at the moment. How hard will Pennell drive in here? Meanwhile, you can see Feather Place and Markowski placing their bets on the roulette wheel of drivers. As whoever can get the better run here can make a move. It looks like Feather Place is going to bail out, going to make it a 3-wide advancement here for 4th. Markowski will get around Pennell, and Feather Place looking to do the same. You can just see sometimes getting a bad exit or a bad run can leave you toast. As we do see a car coming out of the pit lane. Looks like it's Colin McDonough. Actually, I don't think that's McDonough. I think that's Alfred George. Let's quickly check to see. That's not Alfred George. It's not Jonathan Adams. It was a shard machine. Actually, it was Nathan LaJoy. Just had to confirm it. It was throwback to Kenseth. So Kurt Busch, before I get corrected on my NASCAR history. Anyway, lap 48 of 150. A few other drivers coming in. Matthew Kent will come in. Al McDonough just came in, so it looks like the pit stop window has officially opened, as cars will now elect to pull on in. Top two have pulled away. Wansing has pulled a little bit away from this pack of four, battle for position 4, I should say. Markowski, Pinnell, Featherplace, and Marshall in this. You can see right there, Pinnell still beginning to fall back. Pit stops becoming more and more apparent. As we'll pull up, that's the wrong screen. That's the wrong screen. That's the screen I'm looking for. Right there, you can see the 61, the 17, the 80, the 05, and 15, all in pit lane at the moment. As the window has now truly and officially opened. The question is, as Gaiman was really the first one to pit inside this top 10, the question is, when will the rest of the field do the same here? I should say Gaiman and Feemster both pitted in. As you can see right now, as we'll cut to them, you can see Feemster leaving his box, and so will Gaiman. Back up to the front, Zach Millett still leading the way. He's got a healthy gap over Daniel Michel in second. As we'll show the interval right now, it's about 9/10, a little under a second here. Seth Wansing sitting in third, about 2 seconds away from the race leader at the moment. Then you got Dale Markowski getting pressure here from Nathan LaJoy. He's trying to get his lap back and quick. Meanwhile, Edward Marshall just missed the pit lane trying to hit it in there. And that is what I was talking about in the pre-race. Green flag pit stops can sometimes be a wary, and you can see the effect that had. As he's missed his box, he's going to fall outside the top 10. And now he's going to basically take himself out any chance of getting stage points. Meanwhile, Cody Pinnell, Connor Morris, Tommy Withers, Mike Lawrence, Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence all came in. And you can see Marshall here come again, as he should be coming in this time by. Just couldn't get it woe down in time, and now he'll successfully get it done. Luckily, we'll have a stage break to bail him out, but the problem is he'll probably more than likely possibly go one down because of this mistake. Matt Vordon as well in as well. Back up to the front top two positions. Zach Millett still leading the way. Now got even a 1.32 second gap on Michelle. So the world is his oyster at the moment. Really, he will dictate when he really wants to come in here. Knowing Millett, he's someone that likes to go long. So we'll see if that plays out. Markowski in along with Featherplace. Along with Marshall Harris, Eli Sasek. Marshall, oh, it's the inside wall there. Hits the Miller Lite less filling sign. While that drink may be less filling, that accident looks more filling, as he will come down here and have to buff that out. And we saw Seth Wansing have a similar mistake in warm-up, and it's caught Marshall Harris out to dry here. So at the moment, top 14 have yet to make their pit stop in the stage here. Now Brian Dixon coming in, as he will successfully do so along with Ross Baxter. In the stage caution, right, if a caution were to come out, it could flip this on its head, as at the moment, top 13 on the lead lap. Nathan LaJoy is at least 2 down, so he's trying to get his lap back, at least get back to 1 down, as he will presumably successfully do this here with those fresh tires at number 97. So he will be on the same lap as the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Michelle will come in from second position, so he's going to try the undercut along with Cody Pinnell. They both will come in, leaving our top 4 yet to make a final pit stop, along with Hutspeth, George, Johnson, Adams, Gaiman, Dixon, and so on and so forth. But to give you kind of a impression here, Josh Gaiman right now is first car 1 down. He is currently on the backstretch here. And Zach Miller, obviously, he's coming in now, is coming through 3 and 4, and he will get it woed down successfully. So our race leader will pit. And we actually have a caution. Big time incident here. Was talking about possibly an accident playing a big factor, and it looks like it's Tommy Withers. There you can see him parking on the backstretch, and that just flipped this race possibly on its head here, as presumably the rest of the cars will come in to take the wave around. However, they will have to start tail end. So any car that stayed out will basically get a net gain here of spots. So we'll take a look here and see what exactly happened to Tommy Withers as we'll recycle the field in a second. So right there side by side with Gavin Hudspeth here coming off the corner. And we'll play it out here at full speed. Oh, odd. Ooh, that's an odd incident to say the least. I'll have to take a second look and maybe a bit slower, but that's going to end up taking 3 cars and giving them heavy damage. Withers obviously being the one that ends up going the wrong way around there, as he'll then get it fired back around. So we'll take a look. Hudspeth on the low side. Can't 100% see that. I think that's Mark Dila. It is Mark Dila there. Just checking the angle here. We're going to go with an eye in the sky camera here. We're going to play it at a 4-speed. Hudspeth and Withers here. Withers coming up a bit. Bowie Esports car beginning to merge. Oh. It looks like Withers came up a bit, but then it looks like Gavin came down a little bit. And then Dila was just basically an innocent bystander there. Very odd incident to say the least. So we'll let it play out fully here now. And he just shoots Withers down. Luckily, no one else gets involved. This time we'll focus on the 83 of Hudspeth. If we can find him correctly in my data book here. There he is. So we'll go on board with them inside the cockpit. We're going to watch his wheel here. Oh, it just got a little loose. That's what happened. You can see it just kick for a second. Looks like it just, with the old tires trying to stay out, it just got a little loose and ended up sending him around here. We'll take one more look. This time we'll focus on the 80 of Mark Dila, as he has just as an innocent bystander in this situation. So watch it out again here. You can see just, 83 gets a little loose, 43's there, and since they're both trying to avoid Dixon, who's coming out of pit lane, it can just sometimes lead to a heavy incident. So back to live action. There's Tommy Withers, still able to continue along with the rest of the cars. But as it cycles through at the moment, you can see how many cars are going to get a wave around here. This is going to be Zach Milt, who took the race lead back through the pit stop cycle. Michelle ends up staying on the lead lap due to him taking a 2-tire. Actually, I think he took fuel only, so he will avoid it. But as you can see as we cut to the front of the line, there's Jonathan Adams. There's Matthew Kent. He'll be leading the charge of cars getting their laps back. There's Feemster, Morse, Feather Place, Markowski, LaJoy. We're just going to go through everyone. Dixon, Marshall, Galloway, Vordon, Ethan Wood, Colin McDonough, Ryan Pinnell, Ross Baxter, Michael Lawrence, Eli Sasick, Fleming. Longnecker will not get the wave around here, so at least a good chunk of the field will get a wave around, and we'll try to get back on and get back in position here. We'll take this opportunity as well to recycle the field here. We have, at the moment, Millet Michelle, they'll be row number 1. Oberstadt, Cody Pinnell will be row 2. Josh Battle, Seth Wanzing, row 3. Brian Johnson, Elfridge George, row 4. Josh Gaiman, and Gavin Hudspeth, your first 5 rows here. First cars to take the wave around will be Matthew Kent, who currently sits in 12th. So top 11 stayed out to catch the break of the caution. The rest had to take the wave around. Control on the restart will be on Zach Millet. We'll see if Michelle can hang on that fuel-only call. It kept him on the lead lap. However, he's going to have to try to make those old tires work. And we actually will get the later lap here to allow the rest of the field to get caught up here. As you can see, they were getting caught up here, and they would have a bit of a speed advantage. So we're going to take one extra lap here. And while we have this lap, I want to take a look at Gavin Hudspeth. See if we can get a good look at that car here through one of these corners. That front end is very crinkled up. Obviously, he does not have a meatball, so he's allowed to continue on without repair. And honestly, yeah, it's just a little bit scratched. It looked worse coming to the restart zone than it does now. So I think he'll be just fine. No major reports of note. But still, when you see scratches like that, you sometimes do wonder if the car can keep up its speed, especially coming to a restart here. So as we delay one lap, we will now go green this lap. We'll hit lap 60, giving us about, give or take, 15 laps to go before we see the end of stage number 2. Again, similar narratives to what I said earlier is pretty much the same thing playing out here again. Question is, can Michelle hang on with those no fresh tires with a field of fresh tires around him. However, he did save an extra set that could come in clutch later. Pace car now pulling off. Control will be on Millet. Green flag is out, and away we go. We'll get a good launch there. Michelle going in the wrong way quickly. Meanwhile, Seth Wanzing going to get second away from Cody Pinnell. And obviously, Michelle is going to be kind of the test goat here. If he begins to fall and fall quick, it just shows that no tires is not a strategy you can play out here. You'll need at least 2 or 4 if you want to be competitive, especially with a late green flag pit stop, as he's beginning to falter. Now down to 7th. Could be under pressure here from 8th, as he's still falling and falling quickly, as it's more than likely he will not get any stage points here for his troubles. As you see 3 wide here. Yes, he is just beginning to sink like a stone. At this point, you got to worry if he's got enough time here. Can he hang on the lead lap here? Because this could go from bad to worse here, especially with the speed differential. Nathan LaJoy way off the road there, as he is a lap down in the encounter. He'll luckily get it back up to the track here. Safe reblend. Yeah, I'm just fascinated right on Michelle, so you can see the differential in tires playing its factor. As he is beginning to fall and fall quickly here. So we'll check back on him in a minute. But if they're 4 wide trying to pass him, again, these speed differentials can lead to accidents because, you know, cars catching cars at different times. Obviously, nothing Michelle could do. He got stuck with the dice he rolled. But we'll see if he can rebound in the final stage. Back up towards the front, Zach Millet and Seth Wanzing have chucked away from Patrick Oberstadt in 3rd. Gap of about half a second at the moment, as they're looking to make it a 2-car fight for the final stage between the 2 of them. Patrick Oberstadt, speaking of him there, he's in 3rd. He played the strategy to perfection. He, along with Battles, are looking poised to get some stage points here as, again, with that ill-timed caution, it flipped the field and has allowed some drivers that we don't usually see battling for stage points are now in prime position to get some decent stage points. And looking at Josh Battles as a perfect example, he was 8 above the cut line coming into tonight, getting at least a good haul of stage points, at least at the very least, poised to get 7. Could easily help him out in getting a better cushion over Ryan Pinnell, who's next driver out, who's 8 back. That would be a net gain. Obviously, all these things can change because some drivers that are above him also have not met the requirement of races yet by maybe missing 1. So there's an 80% rule. So obviously the race continue on, they may fall back above the line. So we'll have to note of that. But right now, Battles, these could be crucial points that could help him in a playoff run. Speaking of drivers, Brian Johnson, Tommy Withers. Elliott Longenecker is not for position. He is 1 down. Connor Morse is 8th. And then we see the spot battle for the last stage win at the moment. Michael Joy has it at number 29. As he's trying to hang on, hold on against Matthew Kent and Dale Markowski, who are firmly inside the top 10. Well, Kent wasn't. Markowski was when we hit the end of the stage. Brian Johnson on that low side right now, under heavy pressure here. As he's presumably going to fall outside the top 10. So we're going to cut back up to the race lead here. As we get close to the end of the stage here, Wanzing is still hanging on like a bad rash to the end of Zach Millet. As when they cross the line this time by, we'll have 8 laps to go in the stage. Oberstadt, again, not too far back, so if they get the race, and it could open the door for Patrick Oberstadt or Josh Battles to try to take stage victory here. And actually, we'll ride on board here with the number 5. I was going to say that we're actually going to cut back here, and it is a car park. I just saw multiple intervals flashing up. It's 3-4 wide. This doesn't usually end well. George pinched into the wall. It's going to be 4 wide coming down the straight. Everyone fanning out, trying to get around here to get move successfully. And still 4 wide. This is not what you want to hear a spotter at Chicagoland. In your mirror, 4 wide, 4 wide, 4 wide. Connor Morris, Brian Johnson's going to check out, live to fight another day here. He's outside the top 10 in stage points anyway. Just knew it's not worth damaging the car or wrecking the car for 1 stage point here. Meanwhile, Morris was able to was rubbing up against Elliott Longenecker. At the moment, last driver on stage points is Markowski, but you can see Gaiman, Featherplace, Kent, Marshall, all hounding him for that last spot. It's going to take a lot of determination and grit to keep that last stage point at the moment. Again, we are keeping an eye on the race lead, but right now Millet has pulled a bigger gap on Seth Wansing, so we're going to keep an eye on the last stage points here. This is all to play for, especially for some of these drivers who may need stage points when the going gets tough. So Markowski will hold on the 7th. Featherplace now to 8th. Josh Gaiman last in on stage points in 10th. So we're starting to get some breathing room here. Up behind the road here, you see Edward Marshall, Brian Dixon, Matthew Kent. That's battle for 11th, 12th, 13th. Now, meanwhile, Morris, I saw him hit the wall a little bit. He will hit it a good while there. See if we can get Connor Morris there. There he is. He's still continuing on. No caution. It was a single car incident. As we will continue on here. As we saw him kind of in the wide shot, looks like he hit the wall a little bit, got loose, got the speed wobbles. And that right front end is heavily torn up. Back up front, coming to 2 to go in the stage. Wansing still hanging tough here behind Zach Millet. Does he have anything for the driver of that 31? Ryan Moore here with Seth Wansing with 2 to go. Looking at lap times, they're about dead even. Millet was slightly faster, 31.14. Seth Wansing, 30.3123. In the top 5 fastest was Millet. You can see that push there as Wansing trying to get whatever he can get here. So we're coming to the white flag, actually coming to the checkered, I should say, at the end of the stage here, and it's probably not going to be enough here. It is a big scrap for final stage points, but as they come off of turn 4, Zach Millet will take stage number 2 and sweep the stages. Wansing will come home in 2nd, Oberstadt 3rd, as the rest begin to file in here. And that will end the stage right there, waiting for all the field to catch. As you can just see, it was a smorgasbord, but Edward Marshall will get the last stage point. Notable drivers not to get stage points, including Josh Gaiman to finish 11th, Matthew Kent, Kevin Feemster, Ethan Wood, and Ross Baxter all missing out on stage points here. So while those drivers get ready, presumably to come back in and top off, maybe put 4 fresh tires on it, we'll take a look at the results for stage number 2. Zach Millet will take home the gold. Seth Wansing will get the silver, and Patrick Oberstadt will get the bronze. Battles, Pinnell, Markowski, Featherplace, LaJoy, Dixon, Edward Marshall will all get stage points for the troubles. And again, just got to give a hat tip to Oberstadt Battles, who played the strategy to perfection. Again, for drivers that may need stage points and crucially need them, they're going to put themselves in a good haul here to give themselves an extra cushion. So as the field, presumably all the leaders are coming down here for the most part. Speaking of Dave Michelle, I just want to note as well, as we were wondering how he did, he ends up falling down to 25th, which for a car that's easily top 5 just shows you how important tires are around this track. We'll take a look at the pit lane here as we'll keep an eye on the box. Can the Zach Millet's crew win a second race off pit load here? Will someone try to roll the dice? As it was a short stage. Less fuel, maybe 2 tires. Maybe try something different. See if anyone wants that track position. Speaking of, I think one driver that rolled the dice may have been Oberstadt at least a little bit, and it was 4 tires. Millet, Oberstadt, Wansing, Pinnell, Battles, Markowski, LaJoy, Marshall, Dixon, Kent. Your top 10 off pit lane here, as Oberstadt's crew did the work there, and they will get him a spot, and will put him net P2. Seth Wansing's crew, again, being a bit on the slower side, they'll go down to 3rd. But Zach Millet's Bowie Esports machine team will keep him up front, and he will be the driver leading us to green to start the final stage. As we wait for the rest of the field to cycle out and cycle through here, 23 cars, 24, 25. We have 30 cars on the lead lap. Nathan LaJoy will get the lucky dog here, and he'll be back on the lead lap, I believe. Just making sure. Yep, he will cycle through to the lead lap, so he will be on the lead lap along with Longenecker and Withers. So we'll have 32 cars on the lead lap. Mark Dila and Bren Roberts both behind the wall from the 2 previous cautions of the race. As even though, Roberts we saw get a heavy accident end stage number 1. And Dila, even though he looked like he had a lot less damage than Withers and Gavin Hudspeth, looks like that hit was so hard it may have broke something inside the car, and it led to an early retirement. So 33 cars still running, and all 33 on the lead lap. Only 2 cautions along with the 2 stage breaks, so giving us 4 cautions in total as we set up for the longest stage here. Take the flag, and looking at the numbers, looking at maybe about a 30-lap run you can get on a tank here. So that would get us to about, looking like they'll try to push it and split it in half here. Go 80 to 120. Or I guess 110. There may be 2 stops here depending on how they split it, how they can save it if there's caution. So we'll see if the economy can work. 1 pit stop for sure, maybe 2 depending on how fuel goes. But we'll have all those questions answered in the near time. Pace car going to pull off on will be control of Zach Millet as they enter the restart zone. Green flag is out, and let's start the final stage. And stage 2 will start the same way. Sorry, stage 3 will start the same way as stage 2 did, and stage 1 ended with Zach Millet leading charge. Josh Battles there. You can see him, Black Acid teammates fighting for 5th, and at the same point, Matthew Kent, Edward Marshall fighting for 7th. These cars fan out, getting the fight here. Now with everyone on a similar strategy, we'll see if Battles, a few other cars, Patrick Oberstadt, they got with this track position, this net gain. Can they hang on to it? It seems like right now Battles struggling to keep it going forward. And now ensuring this little restart has allowed these cars that were caught 1 down, chance to get regrouped. So Markowski, for instance, he was caught 1 down. He's now got some clean track. Cody Pinnell, Matthew Kent, they've cycled through here. They're going to try to put the pressure on the race leaders here, try to make this a net gain. As Markowski and Kent are side by side. Nothing, anything note up front. Still top 2 holding it down. Millet and Wansing. No major accidents and notes. So obviously we saw the first 2 stages being very aggressive here. It looks like the field has taken a bit of a calm pill here. Turn maybe saving a little bit of gas. But the minute I say that, look a little bit further back, and you can see right now it's 2-3 wide, just outside the top 20. Gaiman, Featherplace, Elfridge George, and Michelle, all in this little pack here. We know they got some fast machines in this little groove, so see if they can work their way forward. This is Michelle really ripping that high side. Oh, George almost gets ping pong. Checks up Ryan Pinnell. As the rest of the cars fight around, as we also see again, if you did miss us for the Indianapolis broadcast, again, as you see on the side of the car, Ryan Pinnell is now a girl dad, as he is probably going to be a proud father soon, or is a proud father, because regardless, he's had a baby girl, and he's going to be a girl dad. So good on Ryan Pennell there. Let's see if he can get a good run like you had last week in Indianapolis in that 12 machine. Back up front, though, top three. Millet, Wanzing, Oberstadt. Cody Pennell there. Markowski hanging on to the top five at the moment. Matthew Kent, though, pretty much changing his gears. He's under pressure here from Mike LaJoy. They're battling hard for sixth. Milwaukee's best against Bucky's. Then you got Wendy's. That's the one thing I do love about the series is the wide variety of sponsorships you'll see on these machines. Because you go from a college to a gas station to a drink to a nuggets you find at a Wendy's, or I guess a fast food restaurant. So it's a nice variety of machines here. Kent will end up taking that position there, at least lead that lap. Dale Markowski not going away, though. Michael Joy caught my eye. He's under pressure here from Edward Marshall. Meanwhile, as well, looks like we got a possible battle for the lead. Saw Wanzing on the corner panel. It looks like he can't get the full drive off. He'll stay in second, so we'll cut back what we're watching here. Dixon side by side. Ooh, big hit there for Battles in his Ford machine. Let's see if he can did not hit too much speed out of it. Because we saw that happen with Adams as they are 3 wide, going the wrong way. 3 wide with Kent, Markowski, and Marshall. Oh, Marshall going to go a little bit low for the grass. We'll have to save it. He will. Third time we've seen that. First was Feather Place. Second was Kent. Now it's Edward Marshall that takes the emergency route and keep the car straight. He'll lose a couple spots, but luckily he'll keep it pointing in the right direction. It almost feels like the calm before the storm here. As we are watching maybe a bit of a, like calm before the storm feels like the right words I want to say. As it feels like we're just watching the field here play it out. And we're just waiting for maybe something the driver's going to late run. It's obviously a green flag pit stop still looms. Looks like Marshall Harris has come in, but it's a bit early for a final pit stop, so we'll see if it's scheduled or not. We do not want to cut away from this battle here. As Oberstadt and Pennell fighting for third. Let's see if we can get a good onboard shot here. We'll go to Mike LaJoy. He's got a great shot, not under pressure from anyone. You can see Pennell try to get it done there, cannot do it. Looks like he'll try again, but under pressure now from the 33 of Dale Markowski. LaJoy will pinch the bottom here. About placing your car and getting the run you need off corner entry and exit. It does look like it was a scheduled stop for Marshall Harris. However, he will go one down to do that encounter. He's on the risk of possibly going another down. As you can see him very slow on the apron there, so very odd situation indeed. Hit the wrong button there. There we go. Markowski, Pennell, 15 of Matthew Kent. They'll make up your top 6. Well, 3 through 6. 4 through 6. Brian Dixon right now at the moment won another big mover up 19 spots. Second highest mover in the field. Biggest being Patrick Oberstadt up 29 from where he qualified. So Brian Dixon will slide into 7th. Top 10, pretty much all under a blank here. Last car in the top 10 is Kevin Feames. You can see Battles in 11th. So we're going to try to find some good battles here at the moment. Looks like we're going to battle for 15th. Josh Gaiman battling with Blake and Galloway is the battle for 14th. Meanwhile, Brandon Featherplace, our pole sitter, has had a really bad second stage here, and as he's really struggling to get forward here after that bad ill-timed caution. So I think he and Gaiman may need another caution here or another strategy to go their way in order to try to get back up to fight for that lead. As they are 3 wide at the moment. Obviously, Galloway teammates in Bowie Esports with Featherplay, so it can always be a little bit helpful to have a teammate, especially in big battles like this. However, it looks like Galloway will end up being the big loser. He'll lose a spot. Gaiman will keep his nerve. He'll get the spot gained. cut up the road here. Dan Michelle was just able to clear Ethan Wood, so put Michelle up to 12th. Inside the top 10 again, Kevin Feemster watching a battle between Matthew Kent and Mike LaJoy as they battle for 9th. And just up the road as well, Brian Dixon side by side here with Cody Pennell. They'll actually end up colliding a little bit there, but they'll keep going the right direction. No harm, really no foul. The only thing they will lose is a little bit of time to the next car ahead. They're still side by side. Watching this 3-wide encounter here, lap 95. Still a little bit ways away before we get to 50 laps to go here. Looks like we'll be clear. Marshall and Pennell fighting hard here for 6th. This run really matters, as this is going to really play into the hands of the drivers that can save their stuff. Make their tire wear work. Because this late into the run, you got to push the run as long as you can in order to make sure you save enough fuel to make sure you can try to make it a one-stop. I doubtful anyone can. For the drivers that can really save their stuff, they could put themselves in just a better chance, at the very least, even A, to take less fuel on the second pit stop, or B, at the very least, open up more of a well of possibilities. So the drivers that can really save their tires are going to be poised here for this late run to the gold. Matthew Kent and Josh Battles here. Not missing anything up front. Pretty much the rest of the cars up the road are pretty much nose to tail, as you see in that wide shot there. Go a little bit further back. Ethan Wood here, Ross Baxter, and Colin McDonough. They're fighting for spots. Blake Galloway as well under pressure here from Tommy Withers. As you can see, the war scratches on that 43. At the moment, we have 29 cars on the lead lap. Tommy Withers is the last car on the lead lap, yet I don't think actually is on the lead lap because, yeah, he is the first car one down. So Withers is actually not on the lead lap. He's one down. Gavin Hudspeth at the moment is the last car on the lead lap, but that may not be for long here as Zach Millett is about poised to put the lap down. Further back, we were watching there, Baxter will get clear of Colin McDonough. So put Baxter up to 15th, Colin McDonough to 16th. Ryan Pennell and Blake Galloway, they're fighting. Galloway going the wrong way here as he has really struggled in this final stage as he is sinking like a mobster with stone shoes. Ooh, long neck gets a little loose, but he'll keep pointing in the right direction. And as Millett comes off at 3 and 4 here, he's going to hit the magical lap 100 here. So we'll take a quick look here, and we'll go around the field here and show you where everyone is. As we actually have the first pit stop, Matthew Kent will come on in here. So he'll be the first of the major runners to come on in for, presumably, to try to cut this last stage in 2. But we'll go back to what I was talking about here. We'll do a quick rapid rundown here. Zach Mills led 90 of 100 laps. Other place led 6 of those laps, and some other drivers that cycle through. But Millett has led the most laps, and he has looked poised here tonight. As you can see, only the lowest he's been is 4th when he pitted. Then you got Patrick Oberstadt and Seth Wanzing. They have a big fight here for 2nd. While we're kind of watching that, Wanzing is losing the long run that car, much to the gain of Patrick Oberstadt. As he was slowly chipping away, and look, you can see it right there. 32nd, started 32nd, has gone as high as 2nd right now. He took that advantage, that stage caution, before that stage caution came out, like halfway through stage 2. He's taken it and ran with it. And he's showing that Casual 60 has a lot of speed on it. As he's got right now at the moment one of the fastest cars on the track. Seth Wanzing now down to 3rd. He's been a consistent top 10 threat here. High 6th, low 7th. Edward Marshall's gotten up to 4th. Then you got Dale Markowski in 5th. Brian Dixon there has gotten up to 6th, low 6th. Another driver has really taken advantage of flipping it on its head. Cody Pennell sitting in 7th. Michael Joy there in 8th. Kevin Feemster in 9th. And Brandon Fairplace has gotten his 34 back in the top 10. That may be due to Michelle and Lawrence, a few other cars ahead pitting. So we'll see where he cycles out for our pole sitter. Battles, Gaiman, Ross Baxter, Colin McDonough, and Matt Mordon and Ethan Wood round out the top 16. Now with Sasek in 17th. So it's Michelle, Lawrence, looking at drivers that have pit so far. Michelle, Lawrence, Kent, and Galloway have all taken a pit stop here along with Elliott Longenecker. But Longenecker is one down. Matt Verdon will hit the wall there a bit. And that raises the question, when will a race leader elect to come in here? He has got the world in the palm of his hands right now. Has opened up over 2 seconds to Patrick Oberstadt, who's put a healthy distance over Seth Wansing. So we're looking at the end of stage 2. It looked like it was going to be a showdown between maybe Wansing and Zach Millett, but now it's Patrick Oberstadt trying to bring the thunder to Zach Millett. I'm just looking for a graphic here. Can't find it right now, so that's a little bit annoying, but we'll cut back anyway, but we see pit stops happening right now as we're going to go back to the wide shot. Seth Wansing coming in. As he will come on in here. He will give up third place to try to go for the undercut again. He is probably poised to take a 2-stop here, so he will not be going on a 1-stop here. Now I found the graphic we're looking for. You can see the speed thing he's at. It's 2.15 seconds, so I do wonder, maybe Patrick Oberstadt's thinking the same thing here. Maybe he'll try to undercut. Looking at his times, though, he's running maybe about 2 tenths slower than Millett. However, he's one of the only other drivers in the top 10 that's in the 31-second bracket. The only other drivers being Feems, who just came down, Gaiman, and a few others, and Brandon Featherplace also being in the 31-second bracket that time by. So Edward Marshall now in third. You can see the battle between Markowski and Dixon as we're doing some strategies and calculations. Eli Sassick, Ethan Wood, Kevin Feems are in that time by. Dixon, Markowski fighting hard here for fourth. Cody Pinnell, Brandon Featherplace, and Michael Joy are watching pretty much 4th through 8th on our screens. Colin McDonough will come down pit lane this time by. We're just keeping an eye on our race leaders here. Millett, Oberstadt, Marshall, Dixon. It will also be interesting to note, again, that Seth Wansing did do the undercut. He was a healthy distance away. Right now, at the moment, he is here, currently with some clean track just ahead of Alfred George. There's Kevin Feemster. He will cycle around. But it does make you wonder if he can make this undercut work, but we'll find out now as Zach Millett will come in from the lead. Patrick Oberstadt will follow suit. So it pretty much confirms it will not be, just make sure my math is correct. Yep, they can make it about 31 laps. And oh, Patrick Oberstadt missed his box just by a hair. That's going to cost him some valuable time here. Keep an eye on Millett here as he hits his box. And we'll actually watch on board here with Seth Wansing for a second, as he obviously did the undercut from third. We'll see if that undercut's got any power in it. You know, Marshall will take the lead. It'll be Marshall, Dixon, Pinnell, Featherplace, Battles, Adams, your top 6, as he'll get around for 7th. Adams will also come in, so pretty much they'll be racing for the race on entry. Alfred George will take the race lead. Keep an eye on the left of your screen. That's LaJoy, Markowski, and Oberstadt. But as you can see right there, there is no sign of Zach Millett. As we go with the wide shot to show you where exactly he is there. So he is a healthy distance away for second position at the moment. As Wansing will cycle ahead of Patrick Oberstadt, who's actually fallen a car distance between him and Galloway. So the undercut is powerful. However, Oberstadt will have the advantage on the long run. However, that is a healthy gap that Zach Millett was able to do. Great exit lap, great entry. And you can see pit lane very crowded as the next 4 came in, as they will all get zoomed around here. Brian Johnson has taken the lead via pit stop cycle. Only car to stay out here. Presuming maybe trying a fuel strategy here, as I did hint to, at the very least, if you can try to make your fuel tank last the longest, it can open an element of strategy to try to hit the fuel economy you need if it stays green. So Johnson at the moment will go the longest of the runners. He will make it to 110 before he will elect the pit. Since he comes in this time by, he'll almost lose it on exit, and he'll have to get it woe down. He will. So he'll pit that time by. Zach Millett on the backstretch. You can see he, along with Daniel Michelle actually using the undercut a lot better than Seth Wansing did, will cycle in the second. Matthew Kent there in third. This is basically the battle for the lead here at the moment. Millett will have the freshest tires on strategy as Michelle and Kent. Kent came at 99. Michelle came in at 101. So obviously they know they're going to have to pit again here, so why not take the extra strategy here to make it work? And We know Michelle's got a fast 25. The question is, can he use his undercut to his advantage? So his pit stops have officially completed. 27 cars on the lead lap. Morse will be the last car on the lead lap. Elliott Longenecker first one down as we're watching the battle for second. Net second. Pit stop still looms for this field. As we take a look, we have right now at the moment 39 laps to go, and more than likely one pit stop remaining for the field. While we have this action, we watch the battle for second. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in here to ABN Studios to watch the ARCS Chicago 240 for the ARCS 7-Bar Barbecue A-Squared Cup Series. My name is Kevin Young. It's been a great pleasure to bring you this race. It has been a very nice race so far. Not a lot of cautions, a lot of strategies playing out, and some good, clean racing. You'll love to see that, and hopefully that can stay on the trend here for A-Squared. Obviously, if you are enjoying this, you can join us here next week as the series will be heading off to Richmond as we're on the fast track to the playoffs, as we only have, after tonight, 8 more rounds before we set the field of the 16 drivers fighting for a championship. But obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We still have 38 laps to go here, and if that driver, Zach Millett, can find victory, we'll have to see whether or not his win will count or not, as drivers to make the playoffs have to meet a requirement of races in order to qualify for the playoffs. And as we watch him right now try to put Brian Johnson a lap down, take a quick look at the points. And at the moment, check to see if he's met the requirement. I don't think he has. Yeah, he has not made enough required. 5 starts to 8. He's not made enough races. However, again, it is the 80% rule, and obviously with well over 18 rounds in the calendar, you would have to make. So we're going to have to do some quick math on the fly here. Yeah, 18 rounds, 80% of 18. So while we do that calculation, we're going to watch some other battles here, and we'll get you the number in just a second here. Yeah, 14 rounds. You'll have to make the equivalent of about 14 to 15 rounds, depending on how they score it, in order to be able to make the run for the championship and make your win count. So Millett at the moment, we'll see if he can get his schedule going. We know he's had some schedule concerns. But as long as he can make 14 of 18 races or 15 of 18 races, he will be poised to fight for a championship. As he will also then put Marshall Harris a lap down. So we'll cut back through the field here. We got Danny Michelle, Matthew Kent, Seth Wansinger now sitting in 4th. Got a big battle here between Feemster and Oberstadts. Oberstadts had a rough pit stop window there, missing his box. It's costing him time, and it looks like it's getting him a little bit of time here to get that car really woed up. It seems like he is struggling at the moment to really move that car forward. So Feemster, Oberstadt, look at any of the battles we have on the track at the moment. We got Galloway there. You can see in pressure here. Michael Lawrence currently running top 10. See him in 10th in that Bob's Burgers 47. Other than that, we do got a big battle here, as this is a major fight here. Feather Place, Marshall, Gaiman, Pinnell, Dixon, all on your center screen here. Big battle for 11th, as Feather Place is 11th, Gaiman is in 13th, and Marshall is in 12th. Again, you never know if a late call should come out, when it will strike, so you want to make sure you keep yourself in a good spot in order to ensure you can give yourself a good run. Because obviously, 2 of those 3 drivers have found victories over the season. They've tried to make their move around Michael Lawrence here. In Feather Place, who won this season along with Edward Marshall. Gaiman trying to join that elusive winners club. So we'll hit 30 laps to go in a bit here. Ben Feather Place still charging forward here and charging quickly as he will get around Galloway here. So put Feather Place now up to 9th. Remember, one of those drivers that tried the overcut here, and showing why the overcut is very potent, because if you can keep your nerve, keep your speed, you can really drive forward. So the undercut is a gamble in the sense that you get more track position. The overcut allows you fresher tires to try to run down the cars that tried the overcut. So You see the different strategies and see how they play. We'll see how it goes, because obviously if we cut back up towards the front, as Michelle is now getting reeled down by Seth Wanzing here. The advantage of doing the undercut, like I said, is you get the farther track, but right now we know Michelle's going to have to pit probably the earliest along with Matthew Kent. However, they could try to re-undercut a race leader, but as we look here, as Morris is going to kind of cut off Wanzing there for a second, and look at the speed tab here, you can see right now they're about 5 seconds and some change back from our race leader, Zach Millett, who has just got some clean track and is pulling away. As it's right now, again, Wanzing in a bit of trouble here, as you can see the 49 of Morris just pinching that bottom. Obviously, he has the right to do it, but it's not really the most respectful thing in the world to do, is he's obviously already one down. It would be the first car to get the lucky dog back, but no love lost. As Wanzing will still pinch that low side. Michelle will try to go high. Again, had their little battle in Indianapolis. Looks like it's all in the past. Michelle will hang on at the moment, but you know Wanzing is going to have that slight tire advantage by well over 3 laps. We'll see if he can use it here. Keep again here. Again, just to show you how big that gap is, that car, you see that little speck entering 3 right now, that is our race leader, Zach Millett. That just shows you how big 5 seconds can be around this track. It can be Herculean to make up if you're not careful. If we cut back to the wide shot here, you can see, still side by side though, Michelle will come in. Matthew Kent will be the first to make their final pit stop of the race, along with Edward Marshall. As we're watching this battle for a second, we'll acknowledge they're both coming in along with Blake Galloway, so they will make their final pit stops. With 27 laps to go, Wanzing will now get clear of Michelle. I assume it's probably going to be a quick pit stop here for Michelle, as he probably wants to follow suit, try to make this undercut work, because it is a hard task to make up 5 seconds without a caution. So the question is, what do you do if you're in these drivers? What is your element of strategy? Do you stay long, hope there's a caution? Do you come in early? Obviously, it's up for these drivers to make that call, but like I said, that is Zach Millett at the moment, who basically controls the pace of this race and controls the themes of this race. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he just goes long just because you don't want to risk a caution coming out and getting pinned 1 down, or in turn, getting put a 1, have to take the wave around and start further back. Like we saw, Feather Place, Gaiman, a few others get pinned in that situation. And Feather Place right now has only gotten his way up to 8th right now. As it looks like Michelle just almost missed coming into pit lane. He'll get it back in. So he will come in this time by, will give up 3rd position, promoting Dale Markowski up to 3rd. As we actually we'll cut to this battle now. As Markowski and Overstat were fighting, they're still fighting. Michael Joy and Kevin Feemster have joined the fray. I'll be, again, Patrick, one of the biggest movers on this grid, up 29 spots. Markowski, again, has had a bit of a rough slump to start the year, is looking to get maybe a podium. This be just what the doctor ordered, along with Michael Joy and Kevin Feemster. They're all drivers that could use good runs here today. Josh Gaiman will pit just inside the top 10. He will come on in, take his final pit stop with 24 laps to go. Again, I do wonder if any drivers that may be bold enough to try it, maybe make it go as long as they can. I was thinking Brian Johnson would be the one that's going to go the longest. However, I just don't know if he's got the fuel here. Patrick will hold on. Now they're stuck behind Connor Morris here again. Again, Morris has the right to put up the fight, but again, you're not making many friends when you sometimes get parked in a bad spot. Now, obviously, just caught him at a bad time, but it can always be a bit head-scratching when you're in a battle and a car kind of just sits there, especially when they're 1 down. But again, Morris doesn't have to pull out of the way. He will continue to fight for his own advancement, as he obviously right now is the first car on the lucky dog spot, as he's trying to keep ahead of Brian Johnson. Back up front, Zach Millett. Again, I do feel a bit of sorry for him, as he's had a great run so far, and it's just been kind of overshadowed just because he's been in a spot where he's been so far ahead, we've had to cover other action. Seth Wanzing will come in. Speaking of Wanzing, and it looks like, I think Brian, someone else will be in as well. Not sure who it is. I think it's Elliot Longenecker, his teammate. Actually, it's Ethan Wood, possibly? Regardless, he's in the pit lane right now. Actually, we'll just pull up the pit road data here. Yeah, Longenecker, Wood, LaJoy, Longenecker, and LaJoy, and Cheeseburger Lawrence will be the cars in that time by. So, again, Wanzing going for the undercut. I assume Zach Millett will be going long in the tooth here. Going as long as he dares. Or does he elect to try to cut off Wanzing? Because the longer Wanzing stays out, we saw, at the very least, we saw with Matthew Kent and Daniel Michel, they went over 7-8 laps, and they were able to get just on the rear of Zach Millett. Now, obviously, Millett's got the tires, and Millett probably doesn't want to risk, in turn, going a lap down here. So I assume he wants to go long, but the question is, how long does he dare to go? Because every successful lap, Wanzing could put down who's in second, will close that gap a little bit closer and closer. However, again, 6 seconds is a big gap to make up. Colin McDonough in. He'll pit from 14th, leaving us 16 cars. They've yet to make their presumable final pit stop of the race. Again, I assume no car can make it. They'd have to make it over 40. It's the latest pit stop of the cars on the lead lap. They'd have to make it well over, say, Brian Johnson, who, again, as went the longest. He would have to go at least 40 laps, which is just a big ask. I don't think is going to be possible. Feemster and Dixon in. They will full pit, and they will come back in. And just keeping an eye on when Zach Millett comes in. It looks like it will not be this time by, so we'll cut to another battle. We got Cody Pennell and Brandon Featherplace at the moment, having a big battle for, at the moment, P5. We'll have to see where it cycles when pit stops conclude, as they were just inside the top 10 around 8th before pit stop started to kick off. So we'll have to see where they cycle out when they make their final pit stop, but they are battling right now for 5th, and we'll actually ride on board here with Daniel Michel, who wasn't at P3, and again, he's another driver that could try this long undercut here, as he's going to have those fresh tires to rip around Pennell, and you get to see him having that ability to move and move quickly. And our race leader has come on in. Zach Millett has now officially come in. So he is in with 18 laps to go. He will give up the lead. Patrick Oberstadt will follow him on the same strategy along with Mike LaJoy. Dale Markowski will stay out an extra lap here, as he will pit one lap here. Michel obviously about to unlap himself here in a second. I would assume more than likely the lead will presumably be in Millett's hands when it cycles through, but we'll have to keep an eye on Daniel Michel here. Michel is ahead of Kent, Morris, and Wanzing by a healthy distance. So we're going to keep an eye on Michel. We'll actually ride on board here now with Michel as he hits the wall a little bit. Keep an eye on the left of your screen. Are we going to have a fight here off pit lane? That car exiting right now is not Zach Millett. That is Patrick Oberstadt. And that was a healthy distance, as you'll see here up the screen. Zach Millett cannot even see him on board here with Daniel Michel right there. He is entering 3 and 4 right now. So pit stop successful. Zach Millett, he is still on the lead lap 2. So if this thing stays green, it looks like it's going to be game, set, match for Millett, obviously bearing any mistakes. Let me just knock on wood before he ends up coming up here and giving me a piece of my mind if something bad happens. Cody Pennell in. He'll pit in from 3rd. So looks like at the very least, Markowski, Featherplace, Battles, Flemings, Adams, Pennell, and George all going to try to run the tank dry here and hope maybe a quick caution comes out or something they can use to cycle and gain net spots. So it's really just a waiting game here. And now you'll see up Markowski and Featherplace. They are both in. They will give it 1st and 2nd. See if Josh Battles elects to come in. He will not. He will stay out and lead a lap. Again, no bonus points for leading lap other than pride and get the sponsors on the telly. He will stay out an extra lap along with Flemings and Adams. Looks like Pennell will also stay out along with Alfred's George. For note, Battles came in at 1:08, Flemings 1:06, Adams, Pennell 1:08 along with Eldridge George. Again, unlikely they'll be able to stretch it. I don't think they even will be able to. But I've seen stranger things happen. At the very least, he's not coming in until that tank bleeds red. Chris Fleming will pit. He'll be the last of the 1:06 drivers to come in. Now Millett up to 5th, and Millett also is about 13 seconds back. And looking at the times he's running about 2 seconds faster than Battles, or at least 1.5. So even if Battles were to stay out, which I think he's slowing in to come in this time by anyway, it still wouldn't be Millett would run down Battles and co. before they could make it on fuel. So Battles is in. Adams will take the lead. Obviously, he's had a fast number 8, but got that wall damage early. Has been just trying to recover ever since. He, along with Ryan Pennell, are staying out another lap here. Zach Millet up third. Dan Michelle will take fourth. Kent fifth. Seth Wanzing sixth. And we do have a bit of a battle brewing, at least in the short term, between Kent, Wanzing, and Oberstadt. We'll cut to that in a second. As Adams trying to woe it down. Not going to make it. He hit the cone. We'll see if that's a penalty or not. He will pit along Ryan Pinnell with a less successful entry. And that will mean Zach Millet will take the race lead here with 12 laps to go. And he has a healthy gap over Dan Michelle, well over 7 seconds. We'll just cut to him real fast to show you. It is a 7-second gap. So unless we get a caution, at the moment, Millet, is putting the field on notice. Further back for the last podium spot, we got Seth Wanzing, Matthew Kent. Matthew Kent tried the undercut, and it looks like the roost has come to row. It's still a good call here, as he is going to, at the very least, be net P5. But Wanzing and Oberstadt are going to use those fresh tires. Wanzing gets the third, and Oberstadt and Wanzing are going to make this a race between themselves, possibly for the last podium spot here, with 10 to go. Meanwhile, a little bit further back as we watch this battle here, we're also keeping an eye on a big conga of cars here. This is what we're talking about. Feather Place is in 7th, Pinnell is in 8th, then you got Gaiman, Galloway, and Feemster, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And this is what you don't want to see if you're a Zach Millet fan. Cars 3 wide here heading through corners. It's always going to be a recipe of disaster, especially this late in the race. It can always end up being a bit troublesome. Further back, we are going to cut back up to the battle for the last podium spot. Wanzing and Oberstadt fighting hard here. Remember, Oberstadt has fresher tires than Wanzing does by about 5 laps. I think we're going to see that play a factor here and play it quickly. So Oberstadt just going to zip on by Wanzing. Wanzing tried the undercut to get closer to Millet. You can't fault him for trying it, but he will fall down to 4th. However, if you want salvation for a podium, as we cut on board with Wanzing, Dan Michelle is just up the road there, about 1.6 seconds back. But they'll have to have 8 laps to try to catch him. Further back, Brian Dixon will cut back to this battle here. Dixon, Galloway battling hard here for basically a top 10. Game is actually 10th. This is the battle for 11th. Markowski also in fray here in 13th. So just keeping on a lot of battles here. We're going to cut back up to LaJoy and Feather Place here. They're battling for 6th. And again, like I said, as we watch Feather Place go low here on LaJoy, tire advantage favors Feather Place by 3 laps. Cody Pinnell also in fray as well. But this is kind of the thing that sucks. When you have a dominating race like Millet is, there's not much really to cover on you, so we cut to other drivers. So as he is still leading with 6 laps to go, his team boss, Brandon Feather Place, will get the move up to 6th. And now Cody Pinnell going to try to follow through around Mike LaJoy here. Josh Battles will lose a spot to Ethan Wood, but that was about 20th back. Meanwhile, as we watch this battle, moves have happened up front. Patrick Oberstadt has gotten around Daniel Michelle for 2nd. So Michelle's trying to hang on to those old tires. Michelle right now 3rd, under pressure here from Wanzing for 4th. They will come to a battle here before the end of this race at the moment for the last podium spot. So we'll have 5 coming to 4 laps here. We're keeping an eye on the last spot for the podium here between Michelle and Wanzing. Feather Place is also charging here quickly too, as he just got around Matthew Kent, but they're about 2 seconds away from this battle we're watching. So this is for the last step of the podium. Oberstadt has checked out. Now the question is, can Wanzing or Michelle get this last spot? Wanzing going to go low. Michelle going to stay with the groove that got him to the dance. He'll stay on the high side here. Still side by side. Oh, Wanzing almost closed the door. Maybe shades of Indianapolis. Right down the long straight. Wanzing takes a spot. Still can't close the door yet. They're still battling hard here for the last podium spot. Again, the reward of finishing on the podium is you get to talk to me at the end of this race instead of sitting in your trailer. So at the end of the day, or I guess to say race hauler, not trailer. But anyway, Wanzing will get clear. And he will be up to third. Michelle will fall on the fourth. We'll see if he can recover here. But we're going to cut back into our race leader, Zach Millett, who's now taking 2 laps to go here. He's about half a straightaway away from taking the white flag here. We're going to cut back to Michelle's. We don't want to miss that last lap, but we just want to make sure we don't miss this battle as well. So this is still a hot, contested battle here between Michelle and Wanzing. Wanzing will stay clear, and Brandon Featherplace about to crash the party as well. This is all to play for, but as Millett comes off the last corner, we're going to make sure we see him take the white flag lap here. 1 lap to go. Millett, that's what he wants to see. 8 seconds clear of Patrick Oberstadt in second. It has been a great race for him as he has been dominating, as he has led well over 100 laps here. As we're cutting back here for a second, this is for the last podium spot. Featherplace, Wanzing, Michelle. Featherplace going to get clear of both, and it looks like he may set sail here. But we're going to cut back up to his teammate here in Zach Millett. As he comes off of 4, he is going to find victory and finally get his name in the win sheet. Zach Millett, your race winner here at Chicagoland by well over 9 seconds. Patrick Oberstadt will come home in second. And for the last spot on the podium, it will be Brandon Featherplace in third, with Wanzing and Michelle rounding out the top 5. But again, hat tip for Zach Millett. He just dominating performance. Set the fastest lap of the race. Just going to confirm that real fast. He actually did not set the fastest lap of the race. Actually, I'm just going to check it real fast, make sure. I don't think he did. He did not. That actually went to, I believe, actually, it went to Cody Pennell. But still, a dominating race. Again, just to show you, as he comes off of 4 here, just to show you how many laps he led. He led over 133 of 150 laps. Really, only his teammate and the drivers, we see his teammate coming up, our pole sitter led about 6, and then the rest were by cycle through. So as you can see right now, it is a Bowie Esports celebration up front here as they will congratulate their winner, Zach Millett here. As he is going to burn it down here and celebrate like kings. And this will also, in turn, with this good performance by Millett and Featherplace and co., this will help grow the gap for Bowie Esports and the constructors over SRD Motorsports. Obviously saying that sentence can be a bit controversial, especially with how the draft played, but rules can be rules, and we'll see if SRD or any other team can answer Bowie right now, as they are taking the remains of line power and showing the Toyota power, while they have Toyota-powered cars have won 2 of the last 3 constructors. So I take a quick sip of my water. It's going to be a very quick celebration for Zach Millett. Very minute in that 31. I guess we'll get a good opportunity to look at that car, too, as it was such a blur, it can be sometimes a bit hard to see. So as we don't go anywhere, we'll hear from the top 3 in just a little bit here, in just a couple seconds, I should say, as we will wait for them to file on in. We'll go 1, 2, 3 if Millett gets in here first. We'll see who joins first, and we'll see if anyone else joins us. We do not want to cut away from maybe Bowie having a little bit of a good talk here. So we'll see who files in first here. We'll hear from their thoughts, and we'll go either 3 to 1 or 1 to 3, depending on who gets in first. So, actually, while we have this opportunity, we'll take a quick look at the final results here. The unofficial final results. Zach Millett takes victory with Patrick Oberstadt. Again, great drive by the 60 car. You can't fault him. 32nd to second. One of the biggest gains we've seen this season. Featherplace third. Wanzing fourth. Michelle fifth. Obviously, Wanzing Michelle tried the undercuts. Got him a top 5, but just not enough to go any further. Pennell 6th. Michael Joy 7th. Dale Markowski 8th. Matthew Kent 9th. Brian Dixon 10th. Feemster 11th. Baxter 12th. Gaiman 13th. Matt Fordorn 14th. We'll go through one more page here real fast, and then we'll get on to the interviews here, and then we'll do the final results after. Galloway 15th, Fleming 16th, Adams 17th, Eli Sassick filling for Hagen 18th, Marshall 19th, Ethan Wood 20, last of the cars in the lead lap. Josh Battles 21st, Ryan Pennell 22nd, Alfred George 23rd, Tommy Withers 24th, Longenecker 25th, McDonough 26th, LaJoy 27th, Brian Johnson 28th. Then we got Marshall Harris, Gavin Hudspeth, Connor Morris, Michael Lawrence, Mark DeLila, and Brent Roberts. Dela and Roberts, only 2 cars not to finish. You see my name and Mel and Kyle Holly both not participating in the race. So now that the drivers are filing in, we'll hear from the interviews. We'll go 1 to 3 here, and we'll hear from Zach Millett first, and then we'll work our way down. So let me just make sure all the audio is good to go here. Just going to make sure we're on the right channels. We'll just turn this on. I believe should get everything going here. So, actually, what? We'll turn it on in a second here. So, just bear us for 2 seconds when Millet comes in. We'll hear his thoughts in just a second. Millet, this is Kevin. Zach, this is Kevin the A-Band Booth. You got a copy? Going good indeed. Just make sure all the odd levels are good. But obviously, you had a very eventful Chicagoland here. It's pretty much you were dominating the race, but we'll get to that in a minute. But let's just start off with pole position because it seemed like Bowie Esports seemed very locked in at Chicagoland as obviously Feather Place took pole and you took second. So if I'm not wrong, an assumption that Bowie Esports seemed very locked in here tonight?
Yeah, it seems like the entire team did really well tonight. Hell of a lap by Feather Place on that pole.
It seemed like
I nursed it into one just a little bit too much. As soon as I got back to the gas, I knew I did it. And once I saw him pop up there, I figured it was going to be maybe a 1-2 if I was lucky. So that was I was happy to get P2 on the starting grid.
Mm-hmm. Moving further on, obviously we saw throughout the race there, we saw a lot of pack racing early on. So what did it feel like in these next machines being in those early encounters there? As it seemed like it was very hard to really pull away as every time someone would get away, they get kind of slingshotting back. So what was that early stage 1, stage 2 in racing as it seemed very condensed and very side by side?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was a weird balance of trying to manage the dirty air and your tires at the same time. If you can get out front, it was a little easier. I don't know. I hate racing up front when you have to kind of block lines, but I mean, that was kind of the way you had to do it tonight to prevent anybody from getting by you. Mm-hmm. If you get back to the gas a little too quick and a little too much, it gets that right rear hot and you start to spin. But that first run, I burned them up a little too much. I was struggling towards the end, and then the second and the third stint there, it felt way better. I kind of managed it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Looking further on, obviously real fast, talk about that second stage. We were kind of hinting that if a caution came out, things could go on their head, and we saw Feather Place get trapped, but you timed it almost to perfection as you came in as soon as the caution came out. So thoughts on that last caution? Because if it was a little bit later, you may have been in a lot worse spot. So thoughts coming in there when that caution, how it timed out to help you perfectly?
Yeah, my heart dropped when that caution came out. I couldn't tell if I made it or not. I actually lost a race a couple weeks ago in a different league just because of that. So I thought he did it again, but I don't know. Looking back at the replay, it was almost perfect timing. I hit that line as soon as it came out. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right?
Yeah, sometimes indeed. And you took the opportunity and ran with it. So looking for those final stages, it almost was smooth sailing. So I guess looking at that point, really just because you don't really get to hear these opinions often, what did it feel like being so far ahead in those last like 50, 25 laps? Obviously, you were still at a pit, make sure you didn't make any mistakes, but just praying there wasn't going to be any cautions, everything stayed green. What was going through your thoughts on those last 50 laps, just setting sail and sailing away?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about taking two. It's funny, after we all tried it, we were all kind of wishing we did it earlier. Car almost felt better on 2 than it did 4. Mm-hmm. So once we came up with that strategy to, wait as long as possible, get our 2 tires, get back out there. And once I came back out and cycled ahead, whatever it was, 7 or so seconds, once that popped up, I started kind of like rolling it back and, waiting for that caution that I really didn't want. And if it did come out, I'd have a little better tires and didn't really have a reason to go out there and burn them up too much.
Mm-hmm. Looking on ahead here, we have Richmond next week, and obviously with this win, as long as you can meet the requirement of races entry, which you're still on pace to do, you will qualify for the playoffs and go for a championship. But thoughts on Richmond next week now that you got this elusive victory off your back? Because we've seen you get second so many times. Does that change the game plan for Richmond, or do you think you're just going to be just as strong and just as fast and take no prisoners because you want to get a second one?
Yeah, it does take the pressure off, that's for sure. Get the win finally. I'm sick of those P2s, man. Once I qualified P2, I was like, man, not this again. I thought it was going to be another night of that. But I don't know. Richmond's usually pretty good to us. It's a fun track in these cars. There's always late cautions, always chaos. So it's probably more fun to watch than to race. But yeah, we'll get our laps in. We'll see what the setup brings next week. Hopefully it's as good as the setup this week. It was on fire this week. It was awesome. Great setup. And, yeah, we'll give her hell, hope for the best, and expect the worst.
Hey, always got to keep the positive mindset. So we got to the point. It's something we want to thank family, friends, sponsors, what have you. Floor is yours. Take it away.
Big thanks to you, Kevin. ABN Studios for the broadcast, as always. Do an awesome job. Looking forward to going back and watching this. Big thanks to ARCS, all the admins behind the scenes. Team Conti Sim Performance, Extreme Graphics, Track Bar Media, EMR Paintball, Bowie Esports, and that S4 guy on Twitch, and all the viewers out there. Thank you.
All right, it's been great talking to you, Zach, and obviously I feel like we're talking for the end of the year, but regardless, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
You as well. Thank you.
And that was our race winner, Zach Millett, and that will bring us nicely to P2, and we're going to hear from him next. Patrick Oberstedt, what a great drive. We'll hear his thoughts now. Patrick, this is Kevin the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Obviously, we got to start at the very beginning again because one of the main things is how much positions you gain, but qualifying, it seemed like it didn't match the performance of that car. So what exactly happened in qualifying there to get you to P32? Because it seemed like that car was top 5 throughout most of the night.
Yeah, I smoked the wall on my second lap, sadly, and I ran my first lap on the outside trying to gain up some speed, and then I smoked the wall. So I started 32nd, but I'm glad I was able to fight and come up to the front with my speed.
Mm-hmm. Looking further on, obviously we saw you slowly move up, and then the second stage happened. We saw an ill-timed caution that played out to you perfection. So I asked Millett that question. I'm going to ask you the same, and I'll probably ask Featherplace as well. Thoughts on that caution? Because that was pretty much the lucky break you need to get that car up to the front and really show off the powers of that 60 Castro machine.
Yeah, if it weren't for that caution, I don't think I would have been anywhere near where I am now. But I was just going to run that stage dry for the caution, and I knew if it came out, I was going to be in good position to get up in the top 5, top 10.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, looking further on, obviously into the final stage, you took that advantage and ran with it. I do got to ask, because we did see, obviously, Wanzing, Michelle, Kent, a lot of your competitors come in early. You seemed to pit at the same time with Zach Millett. Were you thinking of going long? Were you going to run it dry? Did you feel like the undercut was a better strategy? Because it just seemed like you followed the leader. When the leader came in, you came in. Was that your true strat? Or did it seem like maybe it just kind of that's how it timed out? Like you hit a number and he hit a number. Did you think undercut or overcut? Or was it just whatever the leader does, I'm doing it too?
I think it was just me just doing my thing, and I was just going to try to save an extra set just in case there was a caution towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Millett was doing the exact same. And then Jonathan Adams actually helped me, and he said take 2 that last stop, which that helped a lot. I still had enough grip. It honestly felt better than 4 towards the end of the race with 2. So I was decently fast.
Yeah, we saw that with a lot of drivers. We always saw Featherplace Millett had the same call. We saw Seth Wanson take 4 on the final strategy, and it just cost him out of a podium and a few other drivers. So it seemed like 2 was the way to go. Some even took fuel and seemed at least decently well. So at least something to put in the mental mind bank for next year. Look, obviously, speaking of, obviously you were hoping for maybe a late caution, but once you got the second, do you think even if we got another caution, do you think there's anything you had for Millett? Obviously, speaking of apples to oranges possibly, but do you think you had anything if a late caution came from Millett, or do you think Millett just had a stronger car here today?
He was just absurdly fast. I had nothing for him if I'm being completely honest. I just glad I finished where I was, but yeah, I had no competition for him.
Hey, sometimes it's all it takes is a good finish, and hey, you can never fall even when someone puts up a better one. Looking out ahead, obviously, Richmond is next week. Looking at the points as well, just doing a quick tabulation. Obviously, right now you are still under the. No, actually, you're in the playoffs right now. So yeah, you are in the playoffs. So good for you. Looking at Richmond again next week, do you think it's a track we can see you keep this performance going? Because at the moment, with only being 22 above the line, you're going to need to get some good performance here in this back half of the season here to try to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've been noticing a trend lately that I'm obviously a Ryan Preece fan, and it seems as if he does well, I seem to perform well. I don't know if it's coincidence or I just thrive off of that, but hopefully he does well next Sunday, and I could follow that.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, Priest finished second here at Talladega. In real life, you finished second, so maybe if he ends up finding victory, we may have to put you as the betting odds favorite to find victory as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got to the point. Does anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, what have you? Floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, I just want to thank Jeremy for starting me in this league and drafting me. And then I would like to thank Kevin Feemster and John Smale for the awesome paint schemes. And yeah, I'd like to thank my brother too. He forced me to, not forced me, but pushed me to really start doing my iRacing. And it obviously has gone pretty well. So, other than that, I think I'm all set.
All right, great talking to Patrick again. I feel like we'll be talking for the end of the year, but regardless, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
You as well.
And that was our second place finisher, Patrick Overstat, leaving us with one left. We'll hear from him now, Brandon Featherplace. Brandon, this is Kevin the NBN booth. You got a copy?
I sure do. How you doing?
Doing good as well. Obviously, I talked to Zach about this, and I'll talk to you as well. It seemed like Bowie Esports was locked in at the very least, is both you and Millet seemed very strong. So is it a Bowie esports secret in a sense, maybe some extra testing, or you just two strong cars and this is a track that favored both your driving styles?
Well, I mean, being the guy that runs the team, I'm going to tell you that it's just how we are. It's just how fast we are. But
Yeah.
but we seem to do pretty well here. We ran a little bit of practice, and we seen that we had some pace here. So you know we were just we came in with a game plan, and I think we executed it just fine.
Yeah, obviously, team owner ain't going to incriminate himself, at least on hot mic if he's smart. But anyway, looking further on, looking up through the first stage, obviously had that little scuff up with, I believe, don't remember who, Bren Roberts, and ended up shooting you to the inside grass. So thoughts on the incident question, because it looked like at the moment we were cutting the one Roberts, we were wondering if you were going to save it, was it going to hit the inside wall? So thoughts on the incident, because obviously it may have been a handful in that cockpit to keep that car straight.
Yeah, it really surprised me. I was not expecting what had happened. I've actually had some time to go look at the replay. So at first I was going to be upset at Roberts because, like I said, it surprised me. It was like all of a sudden I got hit in the right side, and I went back and watched the replay. I seen Millet's. He kind of touched the fence a little bit, and Roberts, really had nowhere to go. Got loose and came down. So it is what it is. We were just up there racing really hard. Like I said, I have my hands full trying to. I would have hated to come back out on the racetrack and, done something stupid. So I got really lucky with the caution there. So, hey, we're just racing pretty hard up there.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. And something is always good as long as you can keep it all clean, which for the most part tonight, that did happen. Looking on, obviously, with that and then an ill-timed cost in stage 2, it really put you behind the 8 ball. So going into the final stage, what was the strategy? Because obviously you were sitting, I think it was P15, P20, and you knew you had to try to get back up towards the front. So how does that change your strategy being so far behind the 8 ball within the final stage?
Well, at the stage, what put me back there was because I still had damage from the Bryn Roberts hit. So that second stage, I was kind of nursing that. I wasn't sure. I only had 11 or 12 seconds of damage, but I wasn't sure how much that was going to affect my car. And I figured out it kind of affected my speed. So I told them over the radio that on that last stage, I was just going to just go ahead and just fix everything. And so that's what I did. I ended up coming out on P20. And, from that moment on, I knew I had a fast car. It was just to not get caught up in someone else's mess, kind of, keep it clean. I knew I had a really good long run car, especially. So I try to just pace myself around some of these guys. I knew a lot of them would kind of fall off around lap 15. So I was just kind of trying to manage until that point and kind of execute from there. But at the end there, I guess everybody was on the same game plan. We thought we were going to sneak one over on them with the 2 tires stop, but it seemed like a lot of people did that. So at that point, it was just, trying to hustle right after the pit stop, just dig for everything that you can. And luckily, I got past Seth Wansing and Daniel Michelle there at the very end for third. So I cannot complain.
Yeah, I know. I was about to bring that up, because obviously it looked like you were the one that got Militier to say, hey, 2 tires at work. And looking through the field here, at least in the top 10, Markowski, Michelle, actually think took fuel along with Cody Pinnell, but you, along with Oberstadt, Millet, and yourself, took 2, and clearly it worked out a treat, as obviously all 3 drivers on the podium here ended up taking 2 tires for their final pit stop. So obviously looking on ahead here, obviously you got your win. You're still well on poise to make the playoffs, obviously second in the points, only behind John Hagan. At Richmond, we know you are a short track, strong driver at the short tracks. Thoughts on Richmond? You think it's a track we can see that 34 back in victory lane again?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Richmond. I typically do pretty well there the past couple seasons that we've raced there, and I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully keep my nose clean and we come out with another podium or a win there.
That's all you can ask for. Obviously, we got to the point. If anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, have you, floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you. First and foremost, thanks to the team, Bowie Esports. Zach Millett, Brian Dixon, Ross Baxter. We work pretty hard week in and week out. Thanks to those guys for all their help. Thanks to Premier for all of their setups that they have been supplying us. Really helped these cars handle very well. Thanks to you all for the broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch it. Thanks to everyone who watches, and we'll go get them next week.
All right, great minds as well. And obviously, it's been fun talking to you, Brandon. I feel again we'll be talking to you before the season ends. But regardless, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
And that was Brandon Featherplace, our third place finisher. And with that, the interviews are officially over. So we'll take one more quick look at the final results here. As obviously we did speed run them, but we'll take them one more time and go through it again here just to make sure everything works here. Speed up here, 2 seconds. There we go. So Zach Millett, Patrick Oberstadt, Brandon Featherplace, our podium. Wanzing, Michelle, obviously the photo finish between the three of them for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Pinnell 6th, Joy 7th, Markowski 8th, Kent 9th, Dixon 10th, Feemster 11th, Baxter 12th, Gaiman 13th, Matt Vordon 14th, Blake Galloway 15th, Chris Fleming 16th, Jonathan Adams 17th, Eli Sasek 18th, Marshall 19th, Ethan Wood 20th, Josh Battle's first car one down 21st, Ryan Pinnell 22nd, Alfred George 23rd, Withers 24th, Elliot Longenecker 25th, Colin McDonough 26th, Nathan LaJoy 27th, Brian Johnson, I should say, 28th. Hopefully hit the right button. Marshall Harris, 29th. Gavin Hutspell, 30th. Connor Morris, 31st. Michael Lawrence, 32nd. Mark Dila, first of the retirements, in 33rd. And Bren Roberts bringing up the rear in 34th, which is a shame. He had a very fast car here. So that will do it here for tonight. It's been a fun race. You'd love to see some good, clean action. Obviously, great performance by Zach Millett. Shows you why he was a high draft pick during the season. We'll see if Bowie Esports can keep their ways going in the constructors. Obviously, looking at what's ahead on the ABN family of networks, do believe Champ Car is back next week. I think maybe the ABN 500. We'll obviously check the socials on that. But looking at A Squared, at least in the realm of ARCS, High Octane, I believe is next week too, on Saturday on Twitch. But if you are an A Squared regular, you will be back here on Sunday on ABN Studios' YouTube channel at For Richmond. It will be a very interesting race indeed as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the regular season. 16 drivers fighting for a championship. And obviously, I will be here for almost all the way. I assume I'll be here for all the way unless life gets in the way. But it's been fun talking to y'all. It's been a great time. And hopefully we can see you here again next week. So until then, take care. It's been Kevin Young. I'm signing off. So take care. And all of you, have a good rest of your week.